Hey guys, what's up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. So today, as per usual, let's go over Tesla, let's go over the market, and let's figure out what is happening so far. So all that being said, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button. It does help a lot. Of course, this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. Do your own research, make your own decisions. And of course, I also have my membership section now live for $2.99, where I essentially share a bunch of intraday thoughts as Tesla's moving, giving you guys my thoughts and major things that I think are important to understand and to note as Tesla's moving throughout the day. And I do usually several posts a day, but sometimes of course it varies, depends on how Tesla is moving. But all that being said and done, market literally just closed. Let's get into it. Tesla closing up 1.75%, a little bit of a volatile day for the most part, but nonetheless going green. With that 1.75% closing at $207.50. So you can see right here, right now, exactly where we rejected. We rejected at a pretty crucial spot. So there's a few things to go over, good and bad, of course. As usual, we'll go over both more or less, scenarios for the bulls and the bears. Give both parties a little bit of copium, if you will. But let's discuss things right away. So at the moment, I do think, again, just kind of looking at the broader picture, right? Similar to what we discussed yesterday in yesterday's video, you can see here. Right, I talked about how I think we'll come up to roughly this line. I did lower the line slightly just to this area because I also think the 208 is very important. I'll explain why. But nonetheless, I did say it'll come up to, roughly around pretty much this area right here. And then I think we'll retrace back down to retest this breakout, which I still think is going to be the play. But let's go over a little bit more in depth and a little bit more in detail. So the bulls, what do the bulls, want to see? What's good for the bulls? What's the scenario? What's the situation like for the bulls? Let's discuss that section first. So the most important thing that's actually interesting to me right now, that's good. That's actually pretty good, right? There's still one more key thing I'd really want to see, but this is definitely really, really good. So obviously the first thing, naturally, obviously the breakout here was fantastic. But more importantly, the fact that today we broke above this high. Now, obviously we didn't close. We pretty much closed actually pretty much right at it. This was a close at 207.46 and we closed at 207.50. Pretty much closed at exactly the same spot. But, again, keep in mind what happened after that. This doesn't mean this has to happen again in this exact way, obviously, but just, something to note, of course. But regardless, with all that being said, even though we closed exactly the same spot, we did actually go higher. You can see this little, the little wick on the candle right here, right? A little bit of a higher wick, which came up all the way around to actually, this went a little bit higher than I thought. Holy, almost 210. Wow, that's pretty impressive, right? But nonetheless, it obviously went higher than this wick. So that's a pretty good sign for me, at least, from the bullish perspective. The reason for that is because we did set a higher high now after this, right? So because, okay, the thing that was bad, the thing that was making me overall bearish on Tesla for the most part until I saw something, prudent, if you will, is the fact that, so we had this nice rally. It's actually setting up what was arguably a bull flag, but nonetheless, right? We were setting, after these here, we were setting lower lows, lower high, and this potentially right here seemed like another lower, lower high, lower low, another lower high potentially right here until we finally broke out. But even after the breakout, it was still suspicious because this still could have just been a lower high and this could have easily just been a false breakout, right? However, the fact that we went higher than this candle here today, again, this candle was like 207.5 and it pretty much went to almost 210, is a good sign that we pushed above that level. Obviously, if we even closed above that level, essentially above 208, let's just say to make it simple, that would have been incredibly bullish, right? That would have been phenomenal, like ridiculously bullish. But we didn't. So that's something to consider. And that's where the bearish side will come into play, which we'll talk about soon. However, again, with that being said, what this tells me personally is the fact that even though I do think Tesla is starting to approach a bit of a top soon, again, nothing yet, nothing obvious yet, can still potentially go higher, but, it is, in my opinion, approaching what could be the top for now. The fact that we did break above this level and set essentially a higher high after this, level over here, now all I want to see is set essentially a higher low, and things are golden, you know what I mean? So that's what I'll be looking for next, right? So the fact that this was set here is a fantastic sign, and that to me tells me that the trend is starting to really favor the bulls a lot more now after doing such a break. So that's a good sign, and that's exactly what the bulls want to see, and that's, really, really good. But regardless, I still think something like this will happen. Could be a little bit more steep, right? You never know, but ultimately what I'd want to see from here is going to be a higher low. So as an example, let's just say, pretend this is the top. Let's just, for, theoretical purposes, let's just assume this is the top, and let's say we don't go higher than this for, for a little bit, right? Okay, cool. So where could we potentially, reject to? Now, I want to make it very clear. A lot of people think, I'm bearish because if I say anything bearish about Tesla, I'm just suddenly a bear. again, I'm a bear and a bull at the same time. It just depends on what's happening. I have shares. I bought shares, on the retest over here, and I did sell calls against them. I will admit I have calls sold against them a little bit higher than this. But if it makes you feel any better, the most ideal scenario for me to play out would be Tesla pretty much just doing nothing in this area, just going sideways like right here. That would be phenomenal for me, right? That's essentially the ideal situation for me. Like, trust me, I don't want it to fall. I don't want it to go like this at all. Like, that's bad for me, right? I want it to just be pretty much around this area. Anyway, regardless, assuming this is the, but again, if I think it's gonna fall, I'm gonna say it's gonna fall. I'm not gonna say it's not going to fall just because that's bad for me, right? Anyway, so assuming this is the top, let's just say, right, for theoretical purposes, this is the top. Where can we potentially retrace to remain bullish? So first level is going to be exactly where I described right here, which actually lines up with the 0.238. That's the first level that I would watch for, right? Right over here. Come back, retrace, retest, bounce. Done. Problem solved. Of course, there's obviously more levels below that. For instance, we can come all the way down to the 187-ish level or even the 180. Now, to me, very important that Tesla doesn't break below 180. Now, obviously, the longer it takes, the longer this, this line will kind of meet us, right? It'll be like higher and higher and higher. So we'll see. But as of right now, especially with the strength Tesla is showing, I'd be pretty surprised if we go much lower than just a simple retest right now. If we go lower than this retest, then we'll rediscuss that. But as of right now, and the strength that Tesla is showing, I would be surprised if it goes much lower than this kind of mid 190s maybe or something like that ish area. You know what I mean? Absolutely can go lower. Maybe we'll go all the way down to this line right here, which will be that next level of the Fibonacci we just discussed, which is again maybe like 185 or so or something like that, maybe slightly higher. You know what I mean? Like 187, give or take, right? Again, hard to say for sure exactly, but just around that general level. But any lower than that, I'd be a little bit surprised, I'll be honest, at least for now, until Tesla shows some true bearishness, right? But as of right now, Tesla, just as it is today, even though there is some very slight toppy signals, nothing very obviously bearish. Now, that's all the bullish aspects, right? Now let's talk about the bearish aspects, right? What can the bears, the bears have been getting demolished in the market recently. It's pretty ridiculous. But even with that being said, what's some hopium, if you will, for the bears, right? What can the bears still look forward to, at least for Tesla, to go down, right? For it to, like, let's say just completely just and utterly just get destroyed, right? Well, first and foremost, the fact that VIX is doing this is, it's at a spot to bounce, right? It's looking quite weak. However, if there's a spot to bounce, it's done it several times in this area. This is the spot. So keep that in mind. If VIX does get a bounce here, that's bad for the markets. Most likely bad for Tesla, just FYI, right? That's number one. VIX is at a pretty major support. However, if this breaks and this cracks, pretty bad for the bears at least. But that's number one, obviously. That kind of a more broader market thing. And of course, SPY also at a top section here, we're potentially rejecting. So keep in mind, this could potentially be pretty disastrous as well. That's another bit of bear hopium, right? But moving over to Tesla specifically. So I want to go over the weekly very quickly first. Now, the weekly, obviously, the candle, it's a pretty okay candle. I wouldn't call it bearish at all. It's not a bearish candle. I wouldn't even call it a bullish candle. It's probably slightly more bullish than bearish, but I wouldn't say it's like substantially more bullish, and it's absolutely not bearish. But with that being said, the one bearish thing that I would point out here that isn't looking too ideal, and we'll talk about this and we will relate it to previous instances. Let me see something up here. Is going to be here. So check it out. The volume on this week has been quite low, actually really, really low, right? We haven't seen the volume this low since pretty much all the way back here. Now, the one thing to understand and to note is whenever we had these low volumes on the weeklies, they've like these, this volume right here, this green candle were pretty low, right? This one over here, all the way to the top here, pretty low volume, right? Massive, fall into a bit of a rally for a couple of weeks with decently low volume, and then, further fall. The fact that this volume is this low, again, I wouldn't call it like just absolutely it's over, Tesla to zero kind of thing. But it's definitely not a good sign. It's not a good thing. But that's essentially the only really bearish thing I can see right now on Tesla, other than the fact that I can probably just see it retracing back down, and the fact that it couldn't close above 208, I guess is slightly bearish, but it's not like super bearish. But again, if there is one kind of obvious thing to point out for the bears, it's absolutely the volume on the weekly, right? That's pretty important to understand. But other than that, the fact that Tesla couldn't close above 208, similar to this candle, a little bit bearish for that's good news for the bears. Tesla is of course in overbought territory, so it's usually, again, let's zoom out, right? Just to take things into context. You don't have to take my word for it, right? But let's just zoom out like this. Let's do ever since Tesla really started moving like this, for instance, right? Whenever Tesla has entered overbought territory, right? Over here, it entered overbought territory, followed by massive fall, right? And the RSI as well. Okay, cool. Overbought territory here did rally a lot more. This was when Tesla was squeezing still. But nonetheless, you know, the point is what I'm trying to make is whenever it has entered overbought territory, sure, it followed up by a pretty ridiculous rally after that, I'll be honest. That was kind of insane. But nonetheless, even after such a rally and such strength, still showed a massive fall. Same thing here. Yet another squeeze on Tesla. Right up here, you can see I entered absolutely just astronomical overbought. This is pretty ridiculous. Like I don't think I've seen overbought levels this crazy, you know, in a very long time on any stock really. But nonetheless, it entered overbought territory, and obviously a pretty massive fall after that. Here, overbought territory up here, obviously a fall after that. Right. The point is that again, you know, I know bulls like to get extremely excited, and you should be. I mean, phenomenal moves on Tesla. Don't get me wrong, but every time it has entered overbought territory, it has followed. You know, it has fallen down, you know, not obviously just tomorrow or something like that, but it has retraced and it has cooled off. So just something to note. Just keep that in mind. Doesn't mean it has to happen tomorrow, but I think it would be completely foolish to just ignore that and think Tesla only goes up. That is a beginner's and a rookie mistake, in all honesty. So just keep that in mind. That's something to consider. Doesn't mean Tesla can go up higher. In fact, I actually think it still will go up higher. For instance, I do think that pretty much right around here, most likely find a rejection until we get a bearish daily candle. I think we'll come down here, maybe even all the way here, right? One of these two spots. And I think we will actually most likely rally from there and move up a little bit higher, potentially all the way up to, as you know, maybe like this 215, which is this rejection here, maybe even a little bit higher to almost in the 220s, right? But and I think from there is where we'll get the more serious rejection and get an actual true retracement. Again, because Tesla is showing so much strength, I do think that this 140 level is a little less likely now, but I do think that, you know, it will actually find like a true cool-off phase. Similar to all those instances I just showed you when the RSI was overbought. You know, obviously it can stay overbought for a while. Doesn't mean it has to stop right here, right now, but pretty much every single time, it has cooled off, and in some cases quite severely. So just keep that in mind. You definitely don't want to ignore that. If you do, then you're just blinded, man. You really need to start looking at things more logical, in my opinion. But that's what I am seeing as of right now. So let me know what you guys think down below. If you enjoyed the video, of course, as usual, don't forget to hit that like button. It does help a lot. But yeah, all that being said and done, ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you think, and I'll see you tomorrow for the final day of the week. So until then, peace.